G'day everybody, my name is Lowell and welcome to the channel. So we've got some more forgotten history. This time we're going to do Heaven's Gate. The Heaven's Gate cult, what really happened. Now, I can't remember anything about this. I try to conjure up something, nothing's coming. So let's jump in and let's learn a little bit of history today.
Classroom are, in old language, a couple thousand years ago, disciples, those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
Cults rarely look like cults at first. They often begin with a single person, charismatic, intense, and absolutely convinced they've discovered a truth the rest of the world has missed. Maybe it's spiritual salvation, maybe it's a promise of purity, or maybe it's a way off this planet entirely. Whatever the reason, people don't join cults. They follow hope, purpose, belonging, and sometimes that hope leads them straight off a cliff. In the late 1990s, one of the most disturbing cult tragedies in American history played out in a quiet mansion in California. The group called themselves Heaven's Gate. Their leader, Marshall Applewhite, told his followers they were not of this world, and neither was he. When a comet passed close to Earth, he said it wasn't just a cosmic event. Their time had come to leave. But who was Marshall Applewhite?
Wait, what? They're going to leave on spaceships? Is that what he's getting at? Okay.
And how did he convince his followers to abandon everything? And how did this cult manage to operate in plain sight for over two decades before it all ended in silence? Wow. Let's try and find out.
Hello, I'm Mike Droberg, a Marine Corps veteran and filmmaker, and we will try to answer these questions on today's episode of Forgotten History.
Music teacher.
We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind, and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled.
Marshall Herff Applewhite Jr. was born in 1931. The son of a Presbyterian preacher in Texas. He studied theology, music, and even served in the Army before settling into a career as a college music professor. But underneath that respectable surface, Applewhite wrestled with something deeper. Questions about identity, faith, and purpose that never quite found an answer. And in 1972, he met someone who gave him one.
My father came with me this time. Came in the early 70s, took on a human form, an adult human form, helped me get in an adult human form in the early 70s, and we together helped those who came with us that were also here 2,000 years ago get in the bodies that they were wearing so that they could rid themselves of human behavior, human activity, human thinking.
Her name was Bonnie.
Okay, so he's obviously well out there, talking about things 2,000 years ago and, whatever it is. So it's like, how did he get people to follow him with that? As they said, a cult doesn't start as a cult and say, hey, we're a cult, come and join us. No, it's a group of people. You get to know them. You get some that, friendship and whatever else. Okay, there's some pretty outlandish ideas already. All right.
Human activity, human thinking.
Her name was Bonnie Nettles, a 44-year-old nurse and mother of four, who had a fascination with the occult and New Age mysticism. Applewhite claimed their meeting was destiny. Nettles believed the stars had foretold it. Together, they came to believe they were the two prophets foretold in the book of Revelation, sent to prepare humanity for the next phase of existence. Revelation chapter
Dang.
11, verses 3 and 4 reads, "And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. They are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks, standing before the God of the earth." By 1975, they had renamed themselves Bo and Peep and were recruiting followers to join what they called the Next Level. They told people they weren't starting a religion, they were forming a crew preparing to leave Earth.
We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind, and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us.
So they must, I do apologize for keep stopping. I'm trying to get my brain around it, you know, obviously preying on the very vulnerable and the very, you know, if somebody came to you and said, "Oh yeah, you know what? I'm recruiting for a crew to fly," well, I'm assuming fly a spaceship, you know, it'd be like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" But you start mixing in that religion as well, and you know, you get people that adhere to the Bible and you know strictly. Wow, that's some crazy stuff. Crazy stuff.
Minds of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.
Applewhite and Nettles began traveling the country, speaking in small halls and living out of cars. They said Earth was about to be wiped clean, and that the only way to survive was to be chosen, to ascend, to evolve. The price? Everything. Followers were told to abandon family, careers, even their names, because in their words, the kingdom of heaven wasn't for humans. It was for those ready to become something more. To Applewhite, Earth was not home. He told followers they were like astronauts in training, souls temporarily housed in vehicles, preparing to graduate into a higher existence he called the next level. According to Applewhite, salvation wasn't about heaven or hell. It was about evolution, leaving behind everything human to become something extraterrestrial, pure and eternal. He told his followers that the human body was just a vehicle, like a car, and to reach the next level, you had to be willing to exit it. They taught that Earth was a garden, an experiment overseen by higher level beings. Every so often, these beings, representatives like Jesus, Buddha, or in this case, Applewhite himself. He claimed he wasn't just a messenger. He was inhabited by an alien from the next level, and the same could happen to his followers if they overcame their human flaws. To do that, they had to strip away everything that made them human. No sex, no families, no possessions, no attachments. Some members even volunteered for surgical castration to help control temptation.
Damn.
They wore matching uniforms, took on new names, and surrendered every decision to Applewhite, who they called Doe, as in the musical notes. He was their shepherd. They were his crew.
Wow, they even had uniforms as well. Why can I not remember this? This must have been in the news, surely. Okay. Getting castrated and uniforms and oh my God, that is it's kind of almost the definition of what you thought a cult would be, you know, you got to do what you're told to do and whatever else. And, you know, it's like, okay.
Over time, their beliefs fused sci-fi, Christian eschatology, New Age mysticism, and Internet era do-it-yourself spirituality. They believed the spacecraft from the next level was coming to pick them up, and they had to be ready. But not everyone could board, only the most committed, because the only way to escape this world was to leave your body behind.
If you want...
Oh, no. Okay. I just had a sense of where this is going. That's not good. That's not good. Okay.
Most committed. Okay. Because the only way to escape this world was to leave your body behind.
Oh.
If you want to know my Father, if you want to move in my Father's kingdom, then shed everything of this world, leave everything behind, and come and follow me. And unless you hate everything of this world, your sister, your mother, your brother, everything of this world, You will not know the kingdom of heaven. You have to graft to me. You have to cling to me. I will take you to my Father's house.
Behind closed doors, Heaven's Gate operated like a tightly run military unit, only quieter. Members lived communally in rented homes, followed strict schedules, and documented everything. Meals were eaten in silence, clothes were uniform, emotions were suppressed. But how did they afford it all? The answer lies in two things: pooled resources and unexpected tech skills. Members donated everything when they joined: savings, inheritances, retirement funds. It was all surrendered to the group. They lived simply, shared expenses, and moved often. But they also ran a legitimate business. Several members were skilled programmers and web designers.
God, look at that old internet.
Under the name Higher Source, they built websites for clients during the early days of the internet boom. Their work paid well enough to fund the group's needs and gave them the income to eventually rent the quiet San Diego mansion where their final act would unfold. At their peak, Heaven's Gate had as many as 200 followers spread across the country. They held recruitment meetings in dozens of cities, posting flyers that promised answers about life, death, and the beyond. Followers gave up their birth names and adapted strange monikers ending in Odi, like Sawadi, Kakodi, and Talati, a naming system meant to sever ties with their human identities. Their days were filled with tasks like web development, cooking, cleaning, and watching Star Trek reruns, which they believe hinted at spiritual truths.
39 to beam up. Thank you.
There was no violent.
My God. Yeah, like I was saying, that vulnerable class of people that are looking for something better, are looking for an out, but, and then playing on that, come and join us in this, beyond the earthly realm. It's like, oh my God.
Spiritual truths.
39 to beam up. Thank you.
There was no violence, no drugs, no ranting preachers, just total obedience. Applewhite's word was law. However, when Bonnie Nettles died of liver cancer, June 19th, 1985, her death marked a major turning point for Heaven's Gate. Up to that point, Applewhite and Nettles had preached that their followers would physically ascend to the next level, like a sci-fi version of the rapture. But when Nettles passed, everything changed. Applewhite's grip tightened. He told the group that her death wasn't a failure, it was proof. According to him, Nettles had simply shed her human vehicles and returned to the next level ahead of them. This change in doctrine didn't sit well with everyone. A decent number of followers left during that time, feeling disillusioned or skeptical. From then on, the message darkened. Reaching salvation would require death. The human body, said, was just a shell, a container, something to be left behind. And if they wanted to join her, they have to be willing to leave too. They recorded hundreds of hours of video teaching. They even launched a website, one of the first religious groups to do so, offering writings, video messages, and digital outreach. They told visitors they were seeking passengers for an otherworldly journey and that time was running out. By early 1997, Applewhite was preparing his group for their final mission. The appearance of the Hale-Bopp comet was all the confirmation he needed. He told them it was...
I remember that comment coming down, Hale-Bopp. Okay.
The appearance of the Hale-Bopp comet was all the confirmation he needed. He told them it was no ordinary comet. Trailing behind it, hidden from human eyes, was a spacecraft that would take them home. Over the next several weeks, the group meticulously prepared. They recorded farewell videos, saying goodbye to the world with calm, eerie certainty. They updated their website, left instructions for the media, and even bought a telescope, but then returned it after claiming the store was hiding the truth about the comet.
We hope this might be helpful to you. And remember that if you might know who I am, if you might know the truth that my older member gave to me, and that gift of recognition of that information is a part of you, belongs to you, you recognize that that is in your head, then I can be your shepherd. My older member can be your senior shepherd. You can follow us, but you cannot stay here and follow us. You would have to follow quickly.
Then, in late March, they acted. In groups, over several days, 39 members consumed phenobarbital mixed with applesauce and vodka, tied plastic bags over their heads, and lay down to die. Each wore a black tracksuit with matching armbands that read Heaven's Gate Away Team and a pair of identical Nike sneakers. Faces were covered in purple shrouds, their bunk beds were neatly made. There were no signs of struggle, no violence, no hesitation. Just quiet submission to a promise that the next level awaited. The bodies were discovered on March 26, 1997, by a former member of the group named Rio D'Angelo. He had been instructed by Applewhite to stay behind and distribute farewell materials, including videotapes and writings, to the media after the group left. When Rio received a FedEx package with the tapes and letters, he visited the mansion, used the key they had given him, and walked in to find the bodies. The discovery of the 39 identical bodies in the mansion outside San Diego sent shockwaves across the country. The press called it a doomsday cult, a group whose bizarre beliefs ended in a tragedy on a scale the country hadn't seen before. But what made Heaven's Gate so unsettling wasn't just what they believed, but who believed it. This wasn't a group of naive kids. Many had been with the cult for decades. Some had been programmers, nurses, engineers, a former U.S. Army soldier, a grandmother, a married couple who joined together, then cut ties with their family. They weren't unstable or uneducated. They were ordinary people who believed they had found something extraordinary. And once they committed, they never looked back. One of the earliest members, known publicly as Sawyer X, joined Heaven's Gate during their first major recruitment push in 1975. He spent nearly 18 years inside the group, living under its strict rules and fully embracing the teachings of Applewhite and Nettles. But in the early 1990s, Sawyer made the decision to leave, not because he had stopped believing, but because he felt he was failing. He later said he struggled to meet the group's behavioral standards, particularly their expectations around suppressing human desires. In his words, he wasn't strong enough to stay in what they called the classroom. Applewhite didn't force him out. Sawyer left voluntarily, convinced he wasn't ready to ascend. He still defends the group's beliefs to this day, saying he wishes he could have graduated with the others. He's written a book, runs a YouTube channel, and speaks openly about his time with the group, believing their mission was real and that the 39 who stayed behind achieved what they set out to do. Even more unsettling, the Heaven's Gate website stayed online after the event. It's still alive today, maintained by surviving members who were tasked with staying behind. They believed the mission wasn't over. Someone had to hold the door open. Over the years, Heaven's Gate has become a strange footnote in American history, mocked by pop culture, studied in psychology courses, and dissected by internet sleuths. But behind the matching sneakers and purple cloths were real people searching for truth, for purpose, for something bigger than themselves. Unfortunately, they chose a crackpot to follow, one whose delusions cost them everything. Let their story be a warning. The desire for meaning is powerful, but when placed in the wrong hands, it can be deadly. Let us know your thoughts of the Heaven's Gate cult in the comments below.
Thank you for watching
That's
Forgotten
crazy.
History. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments or show ideas, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.
That's crazy. Now, again, it comes down to that, that cult of personality, if you're searching for meaning in life and you come across somebody who is very charismatic and seems to have all the answers, it's very hard not to kind of fall into that trap. But as I said, somebody who's a little bit more grounded, if they heard that and said, oh yeah, we're going to go buy a UFO, and whatever else, and the only way we can get there is we got to kill ourselves, you go, hang on a minute, that sounds a little crazy. But if you fall into that trap and you get, into that inner circle and everything seems right and the answers are there and you become one big family and everything else, and it's just, you just go along with it. That's crazy. I cannot remember that at all. I cannot remember anything about that. I mean, it must have been on the news and everything. That's crazy. That's crazy. 39 members. When you think about a cult, I think that's pretty much the definition of it, crazy people all wearing, all doing, what they're told and whatever else, and believe in these wacky ideas. And again, with that religion, that religion coming into it. But this one went a little bit beyond that, involving, obviously sitting down, watching reruns of Star Trek didn't help, I'm sure. Away team, the Heaven Gates away team, which is a term, obviously away team is a term from Star Trek as well. But it's just like, wearing the same shoes and the same uniform and everything, taking that mix of, cocktail of drugs and then putting plastic bags over your head. I mean, you can imagine what the feeling in that room was, oh my God, we're going to do it. We're going to, go beyond and whatever else. And it's just, that's that danger of that, that colder personality, that was very interesting. Very interesting. So, thankfully it wasn't as much as, Jonestown when we touched on Jim Jones and everything else like that. 39 is still a lot of bloody people though. A lot of people. So, you just think about those ones that got out a little early, obviously that one, that definitely that one guy at the end there, he still looks back on it and says, I should have went too. So didn't think he was worthy enough, but I don't know. I wonder if deep down he thinks, thank God I didn't go, So I don't know. It's it's that danger of, that human connection. We all yearn for it. And if you find it, like they said, if you get a crackpot that leads you, who knows where it's going to lead you. You be careful who you follow, that's for sure. Careful who you give your confidence in as well. So let me know if you enjoyed that one, guys. Thank you very much for joining us today. Make sure you stay safe, and I'll definitely see you in the next reaction video.
Oh, you're still here? You want more content? Why don't you check out my Patreon down here? You'll get plenty more content and some exclusive videos over there too. If not, why not check out this one over here?